Why should campaigns have to descend to such personal and frankly derogatory levels to capture the imagination of the electorate? Shouldn't the election, any election, not just in Karnataka, but any election, be fought on issues that matter to the people? Will this personal attack make a difference in battleground Karnataka? We'll get to that and more in just a moment. But first, the story of how the Karnataka campaign from all sides seems to have descended to a new low.
ನೀವಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ವಿಷಯ ಅದ ಇಲ್ಲ ನೋಡೋಣ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೋಡೋಣ ನೆಕ್ಕಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿರಿ नेक्र सत्ता एक कांग्रेस के अध्यक्ष खरगे जी उनको कहते हैं कि विसेला सांप जैसे.
Less than 2 weeks to go for the high-stakes battle for Karnataka, and the poll rhetoric is only getting shriller. It all started with Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge referring to Prime Minister Modi as a snake.
ನೀವಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ವಿಷಯ ಅದ ಇಲ್ಲ ನೋಡೋಣ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೋಡೋಣ ನೆಕ್ಕಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿರಿ ನೆಕ್ರು ಸತ್ತ.
Kharge later expressed regret, but the damage was already done. The BJP had found their ammo. Home Minister Amit Shah said such remarks will only increase support for Prime Minister Modi.
अरे कांग्रेस वालों, आपकी मती मारी गई है. मोदी जी को जितना भी गाली बोलोगे, कमल इतना ही अच्छे से खिलकर बाहर आने वाला है.
The BJP filed a complaint against Kharge, even urging the Election Commission to file a criminal case against him.
वो कांग्रेस की उस गहरी घृणा की राजनीति का हिस्सा है, जिसमें कांग्रेस एक लोकप्रिय नेतृत्व के प्रति अपना व्यक्तिगत venomous से रखती है.
Then it was the turn of a BJP MLA to target former Congress President Sonia Gandhi, calling her a vish kanya and an agent of China and Pakistan.
Sonia Gandhi vish kanya ಏನಂಗಾದ್ರೆ ಈ ದೇಶ ಹಾಳು ಮಾಡನಂತ ಚೀನಾ ಮತ್ತು ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನದ ಏಜೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ.
Congress latched on, demanding an apology from the Prime Minister himself.
This is not insult to Srimati Sonia Gandhi. It is an insult to the womanhood who sacrificed the Prime Minister's chair, who lost her husband for the sake of this country's integrity.
While Gaali politics has taken centre stage and issues of development are on the back burner, will Karnataka's voters be as convinced?
All right, let's open this up to our panelists who are joining us here in our studios. Shehzad Poonawalla, BJP National Spokesperson. Salman Soz, Spokesperson of the Congress, joining us. Pratap Kanagal is JDS Spokesperson. We'll also be joined by Nalin Mehta, Group Consulting Editor with Network 18. Shehzad, let me start with you first. Yesterday it was Mr. Kharge calling the Prime Minister a poisonous snake. Today one of your leaders calling Sonia Gandhi a vish kanya. Do political parties have to resort to this kind of, personal, derogatory, almost, as somebody in the newsroom said, gutter-level politics to capture the imagination of an electorate? Why? And it's coming from all sides.
Look, first of all, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, I think, spoke to Pallavi Ghosh and he clarified from the end of the party that we do not stand with this kind of comment. It is against our culture. We have even sought an explanation. But having said that, look at the converse or the reverse. The situation in the Congress is that every time the Congress sees that it is losing an election, Congress boklai, Gaali par utarai. You see the trend or the pattern. Before Gujarat elections, the same Mr. Kharge said Ravan. They said Aukat dikha denge. They abused the caste of the Prime Minister. Rahul Gandhi's abused the OBC caste of the Prime Minister. Priyanka Vadra said Neech. They have gone to the extent of saying Maut marega, kabra khudegi. These are the statements they have made, and all the Congress spokespersons come out and defend the statements of these leaders. On the other hand, we are talking about what? Today I am only talking about what we have done for Karnataka. Whether there were 2 airports in 2014, today there are 7 airports. When you talk about 7 lakh Awas that has been built, 32 lakh Ujjwala Yojana cylinders that have been given, 32 lakh people have benefited from other schemes. You have 48 lakh toilets that have been given, 1 crore people have got drinking water connections. The Congress invested only 94,000 crore rupees in 5 years. We've given 2,26,000 crores.
I get that.
So we are speaking the language of development.
Your achievements, but
last 5 seconds. Just last 5 seconds.
Let me ask you.
Just 5 seconds.
One second. Let me ask you. I gave you the example of Mr. Yatnal, and you're saying it's not the party position. You've pulled him up, so on and so forth. But your party has also seen other, derogatory comments being made about Jersey cow and 50 crore ki girlfriend and all of that. Nobody got pulled up for that. So it's like, you know, this is par for course now. In political discourse,
Zaka,
this is how you capture people's imagination.
See, when we are talking about such kinds of statements and allegations, we must be very specific. Whichever statement they want to pick up, has Mr. Modi or any of the persons taken any name of any person? I will give you one example.
Okay.
You are talking about Jersey cow. Please quote that entire statement, and if there is any name of any leader, then I can understand you feel perturbed. If there was a name of a leader, they could have taken it up with the specific agencies or institutions also.
50 crore ki girlfriend?
Please tell me who was named in that.
I think the
No,
reference
you please
is to
quote the
Shashi
statement.
Tharoor, is it
Please
not?
quote the full statement.
the
quote it in
reference is to-
entirety.
the
Quote
reference
it in
is- the reference is to Shashi Tharoor,
I
isn't
think it is very demeaning on the part of the Congress to link somebody's family with that kind of statement. I think it is in the Congress's mind if they link. But having said that, one last statement. Today, Congress is so desperate that sometimes they want alliance with SDPI. There was MP Patil who said that, G. Parmeshwar who said that. They have sent Imran Pratapgarhi who was singing praises and peans to Atiq Ahmed. You have now reduced, the Congress is now reduced to abusing the Prime Minister, and they have done this before every election. It is not a sayog, it is a vote bank ka prayog.
So Salman Soz, I mean, Shehzad has a point in as much as every time any congressman or woman has come out and abused the Prime Minister personally, आपको उल्टा पड़ा है, whether it was Manishankar Iyer saying चाय वाला, नीच किस्म की आदमी, and you know, it's one thing for an MLA or a leader or a former MP to say, Mr. Kharge is your party president. For your party president to come out and say that the Prime Minister is a poisonous snake, come on, that's unacceptable.
Well, Zaka, you know, first of all, Kharge ji, our president, has already clarified what he was referring to. And he has also said that he, in case somebody got offended, he's expressed regret. But let me just say this, that we are not going to take lectures from those who have insulted the family of two prime ministers who have been martyred for this country. No lectures from them. They will never talk about the prime minister who's used very vile language. And, you know, Shehzad can say that, oh, he's not named anybody, but the whole country knows what the Prime Minister was talking about. Maybe the blind followers of Prime Minister Modi do not know what he's talking about. Maybe that's why they're blind. But, you know, the reason all of this is happening, Zaka, is that the BJP is facing an awesome rout in the Karnataka election. So they're latching on to anything that they can get their hands on, because they have nothing to talk about. In fact, when my young friend Shehzad was reeling off some of these numbers, I thought he was going to next say that we gave record-breaking 40% corruption to the people of Karnataka, the kind of corruption that we have not seen in independent India. So this is the most corrupt government.
No, but Salman, may I? You know, you're saying that they're latching on to... One second. You're saying they're latching on to any straws because they're losing this election. It's not like the BJP... It's not like the BJP came and forced Mr. Kharge to say what he said. And again, I keep coming back to this. Mr. Kharge is your party president, not a small MLA or an MP.
Yes. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you what Mr. Kharge was referring to. Kharge ji was referring to the poisonous ideology of the BJP, which forces them to come up with things which the Prime Minister himself told us about a BJP MP who basically abused Mahatma Gandhi and said that I'm not going to talk to this person again. That is the kind of divisive, poisonous ideology of the BJP that Mr. Kharge was referring to. The same ideology where BJP members are routinely saying that Christians and Muslims should not be part of India. That means Shehzad and I should not be part of India.
Okay, one second. Let Shehzad respond. One second. Does this clarification...
I feel bad for Shehzad that he has to defend such vile characters.
No, you made a clarification.
Such a vile party.
Salman, you made a clarification about what Mr. Kharge said was not directly or personally referring to the Prime Minister. It was about the ideology of his party. Shehzad.
Zaka, even though I have the misfortune of not knowing a great language like Kannada, you can hear very clearly that Mr. Kharge has used the word Modi. There is no term of BJP in that, and you know better the language, and you can translate it and tell us whether he spoke about BJP in that entire context. And if it was about BJP's ideology, why did he come out and clarify? So this justification by Salman Soz, this is what I'm saying the difference. Rajiv Chandrasekhar, no if, no but, tells Pallavi Ghosh, this is not our culture. Salman Soz, idhar se ya udhar se, is trying to justify the comment, and what all he has to justify.
But Mr. Kharge himself has apologized.
No.
He has said that
it is
it's being misconstrued.
It is a half-hearted, insincere apology, and I'll tell you why. You're just 1 second.
गौतम दास सॉरी दामोदर दास मोदी को क्या प्रॉब्लम है गौतम दास है दामोदर दास sorry
Okay. No, this is Mr. Khera's.
There are 7 statements.
अब तो ये कहना चाहेंगे कि आपकी पूजनीय माता जी की उम्र के करीब नीचे गिरना शुरू हो गया.
There are 7 such statements like this I can show. So the point I'm trying to make is that Gandhi के ये सोच है शब्द खड़गे के भले ही हो. These may be the words of Kharge, but this is the सोच of Gandhi because Gandhi परिवार has told them that the more you abuse PM on his jati, on his caste, on his परिवार, on his background, the more you will be rewarded.
Okay.
And therefore, and last point, that look, if we are latching on to something, why did Kharge ji say it? Is Kharge ji part of the BJP? And as far as 40% commission is concerned, let me solve this issue also for Salman. You have not filed even one case on this so-called 40% allegation which has been rejected even by the courts, but 85% commission takes place is what Rajiv Gandhi said when he said, when I send 1 rupee, there is a panja that takes away 85 paise, so you are a 85% government.
Okay, no, let me ask Pratap Kanagal of the JDS. Naren Mehta is also standing by. Pratap Kanagal, has this issue now been, latched on to by whether it is BJP latching on to what Mr. Kharge said or Congress latching on to what Basanagouda, Patil, Yatnal said? Are these issues that matter to the people of Karnataka? Ultimately, we should fight on have the lives of people improved in the last 5 years? Are they getting better roads, better infrastructure, hospitals, schools, education, etc.? Or should it be about who called Sonia Gandhi what, who called Narendra Modi what?
Jagat, trust me, these are BJP and both Congress are trying to blame, first of all, blame each other and also trying to take advantage of, that emotions and emotions of Prime Minister Modi as well as Sonia Gandhi. But for the people of Karnataka, what matters is whatever happened, whatever the communal tensions or lack of development works in the last 5 years, and a lot of issues are there in Karnataka. So that we have to. People are worried about that. People are more mature and people are thinking, want to know what they're going to get in the future. What is their future is.
Okay.
Not somebody's someone is abusing somebody that really don't bother the people. They're really not interested at all.
Today, Amit Shah, Naren Mehta, he while campaigning said that this is a reflection of the Congress losing its mental balance. Tomorrow, the Prime Minister is campaigning, both tomorrow and day after, and obviously he's going to turn around and use this attack to his advantage, as he has from in the past, whether it was Motka Saudagar, whether it was this Chaiwala, Neech, etc., etc. There is one school of thought from the Congress which suggests that Karnataka is not Gujarat. What works in Gujarat will not work in Karnataka, and this is a non-issue.
So I think while Karnataka is not Gujarat, at the same time the BJP is certainly banking on a Modi bump, as it were. The Prime Minister's roadshow for the next 2 days. The BJP is facing an uphill battle in Karnataka, there's no question about that. But it's hoping that the Prime Minister's connect with Karnataka voters will give it some kind of momentum because the Prime Minister's popularity remains high. Now, whether that will translate into votes in a state election as opposed to a Lok Sabha election is what we will see in the result. But the fact of the matter is, I'm not sure while how much of a game changer this is. The fact is, this is a bit of a gimme by the Congress, simply because every time you attack Modi personally or are seen to be attacking Modi personally, it kind of boomerangs. So while Mr. Kharge has clarified his comments, the fact that Amit Shah has talked about it publicly today, the BJP before that, the PM is coming tomorrow. And there's a reason why in most in BJP campaign videos, they actually make a big deal about all the abuses or comments on the Prime Minister. And then, for example, in that Chalta Chala video, there was a whole bunch of things from Chaiwala to so on, with the BJP put up very gleefully. So I think that basically comes from a political perception that Mr. Modi's personal popularity remains high, irrespective of whether you agree or disagree with him, with voters. And when you attack him personally, the BJP believes it's going to boomerang, and that's why the BJP is going to tom this a fair bit.
No. So what I want to get at is, to the average voter, does this issue matter, or is voting considerations entirely different. And therefore, our political party is missing a trick or two, because this keeps them in the headlines, all right, but does it really matter to the voter?
So I think with certain groups of voters, it does matter. And by the way, I don't think voters like tutu meme from either side. A large number of voters, but for the converted, for certain groups of voters, this does matter. It allows you to build momentum in a campaign. But when it comes down to it, when it's really down to it, it's about bijli sadak pani.
Okay.
And it is about what matters to them on their livelihoods.
Okay, livelihoods, bijli, sadak, pani. But let me come back to Salman Soz. You know, and we have seen this in different states. It's not just, Gujarat, or it's not just in, North Indian states. We have seen it in different states where whenever a personal attack is made on Mr. Modi, obviously they turn it around. Khoon ki dalali was the famous one that Rahul Gandhi had made immediately after the Uri attacks. And then the elections that followed, which, by the way, I think were Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh at that time, or I'm not sure when it was, but it was North Indian states. Again, it turned around and the BJP won. So the point that the BJP is making is, why are Congress men and women resorting to personal attacks? And if you're saying that they're clutching at straws, and I keep coming back to this point, it's not like the BJP came and forced Mr. Kharge to say what he said. Not just what he said yesterday, but also what he said about Modi being Ravan with 10 heads before the Gujarat campaign.
So, Zaka, I think I must say that the media generally provides huge assist to Mr. Modi and makes him bigger than he really is.
Okay.
Now, the reality is this, Zaka.
Salman, you make
Please
it out to
understand.
be like the media told Mr. Kharge to say what he said.
Zaka, let me
go on.
Let me finish. Today, see the difference. Today, one major leader, Mr. Yatnal of the BJP, calls Mrs. Sonia Gandhi a wish kanya, right? He calls her an agent of Pakistan and China. As far as we're concerned, the Prime Minister should basically take firm action against Mr. Yatnal, but he will not. The real agents of Pakistan and China are those who divide this country along religious lines. The real agents of China are those who keep mum in the face of Chinese aggression. Those are the real agents. Those are the real traitors. And who are they? We all know. Now, all I can say is that no matter what happens, Mr. Modi, the BJP, Amit Shah ji, anybody, they're not going to change the fortunes of this election. Why? Because the people of Karnataka are fed up. When Mr. Modi goes to Karnataka, he can campaign there for 7 days and be derelict, will not work as a prime minister, but will work as a campaigner. He will be seen standing next to all those corrupt people. And he's corrupt in the sense that he's complicit in this corruption. And that is what Satyapal Malik said about him. He said, Mr. Modi does not worry about corruption. And by the way, Zaka, may I say one more thing
quickly,
before you hand it over to the others? Mr. Sat, how many primetime debates has CNN had on Mr. Satyapal Malik's allegations, or the rest of the mainstream media? But when it comes to a little bit of Mr. Modi got hurt during the jousting of campaigns, let's have a debate about that. How many have you had on Mr. Satyapal Malik's?
We have covered. One second. Salman, one second. Since you asked me a question, since you asked me a question, since you asked me a question, please allow me to answer. The Satyapal Malik story we have covered here on CNN News 18, including today his round of questioning by the CBI. So I'm happy to send across. I'm happy to send across those clips to you. One second. As far as prime time debates are concerned, there are 4 shows or 5 shows. Those shows, depending on whatever the topics of the day are. Depending on whatever the topics of the day are, the call is taken as to what the debates are. Today's biggest talking point is this politics of Gaali, right?
I don't think we need to get drawn into...
In any case, the point I'm making is, frankly, I don't think Satyapal Malik has any resonance in Karnataka. All right, so let's be very, very clear about it. You have an election there in 10 days' time. If you believe whatever claims or allegations have been made by a former politician, a former governor, is actually going to swing the needle for you in Karnataka, then good luck to you. I'm not going to begrudge that. But I want to ask Shehzad Poonawalla. One second. The question that you asked, Salman, let me ask him the question that you asked.
I think the debate should not be
One second. The question that you asked, which I'm going to ask Shehzad Poonawalla, the one thing that the Congress has been repeatedly going on and on about as far as your state government in Karnataka is this 40% commission sarkar.
Right.
Now, why should the people of Karnataka not... I mean, there was a person who committed suicide after writing a letter saying 40% commission sarkar.
Now, let me please address starting with this and then let me make a couple of more points, Zaka. And Zaka, I can do it without interruption. I can also ignore his interruption, but I'd prefer it without.
No, it was not him. Go on. Yeah.
So now let me come to the point. This allegation was made by somebody. Subsequently, those bunch of contractors who made it also faced a case in which they have been actually the accused of something that is not appropriate as per the law. And I'm saying that if the Congress had any shred of evidence on this 40%, instead of taking those people who were in the BJP, who allegedly were doing this 40% commission, who are now being welcomed in a red carpet by the Congress, they should have gone and filed at least one criminal complaint in a court of law. Having said that, if they rely on some contractors who are tainted making that allegation, then Rajiv Gandhi has said 85% commission wali sarkar thi meri. I used to send 1 rupee and Salman Soz and his colleagues ate up 85% of it. Now,
one second, Salman, one second.
Let me
Salman, one second. He didn't interrupt.
I can interrupt and also I can interrupt also. I can ignore his interruption also.
Let's do one by one. But Shehzad, again, you're
missing
the point.
Zaka, this is not fair. Let me complete without breaking my flow.
You're missing the point. The guy who made the allegation of 40% sarkar first was the head of the Contractors Association. He wrote that letter and then committed suicide.
Now, Zaka, if this is such a pertinent, relevant issue for them, forget not taking up the legal matter. Why is it today that they are reduced to calling the Prime Minister poisonous snake? Why are they reduced to MP Patil saying, SDPI, please come and do an alliance with us? And why is it that somebody like Sachin Pilot does not find space who could articulate these issues better because he articulates them against Rajasthan government? But you have Imran Pratapgarhi who's singing peens to Atiq Ahmed in your star campaigner list. And why is it that the Congress party today is down to abusing the Lingayat community, saying that the Lingayat CM, particularly targeting his community and saying the Lingayat CM is corrupt? So this shows that the Congress party has not been able to strike any resonance. Because, Zaka, in this entire show, I am the only person saying that we built 5,000 kilometers of roads, 1,700 kilometers of state highways, doubled the number of national highways, new industrial estates are being created, highest FDI has been received by Karnataka. We gave 2,26,000 crores from the Center for Karnataka. We have also given STRR, we are giving suburban rail projects, 7 kilometers of metro was built by them. We built 56 kilometers. I challenge Salman Soz to give me 5 indices of what we have done between 2018 to 2023 and what they have done between 2013 to 2018. They can't give me 5 indices. Chalo, you tell me about the 5 things you've done for Kisan.
Okay.
You tell me about the 5 things we've done 12,000 crores. You tell me one thing you've done.
Let him say the 5 things they've done for Karnataka when they were in power.
The current regime that exists in Karnataka, if Shehzad has rattled off a lot of data points, I'm glad he does his research. That's wonderful to see in a young man. Now, why are they getting routed? Why? Why is it that they are going to be reduced possibly below 60 seats, maybe even 50 seats in Karnataka? Now, when he talks about indices, let me share with you something that he may not know, but he should research it. When you talk about, say, FDI, I'll give you an example. And Shehzad can look it up. Zaka, you can look it up.
5 indices for what they've done for Karnataka. 5 things.
Mr. Modi will say that India is receiving the highest FDI ever, right, during his time. And he'll give you billions of dollars a figure. I challenge Mr. Modi and Shehzad. FDI as a share of GDP was the highest.
Can you tell us 5 things you've done for Karnataka? Just 5. Salman, 2013 to 18.
Giving you
5 things. I'll tell you 5 more we've done. We gave 7 lakh houses. 48 lakh toilets, 32 lakh Ujjwala Yojana, 32 lakh Aadhaar cards, 12,000 to Kisan.
No, 1 second. Gentlemen, this can't go on like this. 1 second, Shehzad, 1 second. Shehzad, 1 second. Salman, do you have an answer to the question that was asked to you? Which is, can you name 5 things that the Congress government did between 2013 and 18, rivaling whatever statistics he just rattled out? Yeah.
Zaka, this is an election about 2023.
Yes.
This is an election about the performance of the Karnataka government under BJP, the most corrupt government in independent India. That is the election. This is not an election about the Congress party's performance in 2023.
No.
So they have to
for
respond.
the people of Karnataka.
Why
No,
have
of course they have to
why was-
respond. No,
why was
Salman.
it-
Salman,
wait,
it's simple.
Zaka,
No,
wait
it's
a
simple.
second,
One second. No.
This
One second. Salman.
this
Salman.
mainstream media obsession.
No. One second. This is for the people of Karnataka. It's a straight up comparison. This is what the BJP has done in the last 3 years that they've been in power.
Listen. No,
You tell us what the Congress has done when the
No,
Congress was in
Zaka.
power.
I'm sorry, Zaka, your obsession of the mainstream media to ask opposition the questions.
Arre Baba,
I'm not
first of all, it was a question asked by him. One second, Salman. First of all, it was a question asked by him. Two, I'm asking you, do you want to tell the people of Karnataka who are watching right now?
Listen to me. The people of Karnataka, when there was an election, the previous election, they gave more seats to Congress. Then the BJP came and stole the mandate.
No,
Even
Congress
then,
did not have
the
more
people of
seats. What is he
Karnataka
saying?
put more
The
faith
BJP was the single
in the
largest
Congress.
party. Come on,
Yeah.
Zaka, facts.
Wait a second. Wait a second.
Again,
Wait
yeah.
a second.
You can't toil with facts.
Wait. Shahzad, wait. I'm not going to. You talk when it is your turn. Don't interrupt. Let me just say this.
Zaka, how can he say
mandate
Congress got more
of the
seats?
people of Karnataka then,
Factually not right, but anyway, go on,
wait.
Salman. Yeah, make your point. Yeah.
there was a combined JDS and Congress
government, yes.
Combined was greater than BJP.
It was
That was the
post-poll.
mandate of the
It was
people.
not pre-poll. Zaka,
Yes.
come on.
Yeah.
Fact check. Fact check.
There is not a single time. There is not a single time in Karnataka's history that the Karnatakas have given BJP an absolute mandate.
You haven't
to
got
do.
from
Not
1985
once.
either. You also haven't got.
This time, they're going to be routed.
Both of these
Okay.
parties, both
So
Congress
Pratap
and
Kanagal,
JDS,
yeah, he's been wanting to come in
Let's
for a
talk
long time.
about development statistics. Let's talk about the people of Karnataka.
Pratap Kanagal has
First
been
of
wanting to
all,
come in. Yeah, Pratap. Yeah.
Yeah, Jaka, I'm so sorry to tell, but both of these gentlemen, from BJP or Karnataka, they hardly, BJP as well as Congress hardly knows anything about Karnataka politics. Nothing. They are just simply saying what all they want. See, first of all, let me tell you, yes, whatever, JDS and Congress formed the government, and whatever Shehzad said, 85, no, the 2013, yes, Congress got the simple majority. That's okay. So they doesn't know anything about Karnataka first. And once out, Shehzad said, about the metro, it was only 7 kilometers for him. Let me tell him that, when Kumaraswamy was a CM in 2006 to 2008, the first phase of metro itself was 22 kilometers is green line, and purple line is around 20 kilometers. So where is the 7 kilometer comes? I don't understand.
How many was actually constructed? You may have sanctioned 22 kilometers. How much was constructed by 2014? Please see the facts.
1 second, sir.
Achha, you tell me what you
Okay,
have done
let
for
me complete.
Karnataka. I have told you what our government did. Why don't you name 5 things you did?
Coming to this, whatever the Gaali politics, let me tell you.
No, let's talk
Karnataka,
about what we've done for Karnataka. Let's talk about Karnataka ke liye kya kiya hai. Sir, I'll give you another example. Mahadayi issue, the Congress president in 2007 said not a drop of water will come to Karnataka. What was your stand? You went and you stood with Sonia Gandhi. We resolved the Mahadayi issue. Sonia Gandhi on record as Congress president in 2007 quoted in Tribune said that we will not give 1 drop of water to Karnataka. She stood with the other side. You tell me, is it true or not?
No, your own BJP government in Goa is saying that they will not release. They will
And
not do all
despite
those
that, the
things.
Mahadayi issue has been solved.
Okay, you guys claim so many things. If you have solved what happened, nothing has happened. Okay, let me continue about this. Whatever the Gaali politics you are talking about.
Why don't you talk about what development you've done?
Are held. The elections are held, on the state leaders, not looking at the national leaders. So even BJP is smart in that case. That's why they didn't attack the state leader. That's why they choose Sonia Gandhi, so that it's not impact them. That's all. Okay. Otherwise, little impact over national leaders in Karnataka.
Okay.
Like people are emotional towards their leaders in state. Yes, if somebody would have attacked Yediyurappa with like that, yes, that would have been a very big issue, to be honest. Our BJP would have been attacked Mr. Kharge, and that would have been a very big, would have made a very big difference. I do agree. But in this one, they are trying to divert the issue. They are trying to divert the issues and just want to take the benefit out of it. They are diverting the issues.
Okay,
They don't want to
I'll
discuss
give
the development thing,
I'll
that's
give
all.
Nalin the final word. I got to wrap up after this. Nalin, I keep coming back to this. I think one thing that Karnataka will show is whether the BJP, which has been this, electoral, almost unstoppable juggernaut, whether there will be a spoke in that wheel. Perhaps for the first time, the Congress, in many state assembly elections in the last few years, perhaps for the first time, the Congress legitimately feels that it has an edge. Whether that edge will continue into election day and through into counting, we don't know. That's something that the people of Karnataka will tell us on the 13th. But in this issue, unlike in, let's say, Gujarat, where everybody knew that the BJP was leading and it was just a question of how big the margin of victory was going to be, I'm trying to get Nalan back. In Karnataka, they're saying it's a kate ki takkar. So even a small issue, which seemingly is small, could get blown up and could affect seats. Like, for example, the last time in 2018, there were 70 seats that were won with a margin of less than 5,000 votes. So that could potentially be a very, very big thing in this round of election as well. And that's why this personal attack on Mr. Modi, even if it swings 5 or 10 seats, that's the difference between having a government with a full majority and having no government or having a khichdi sarkar. Nalin? All right, we'll try and go back to Nalan just a moment. Salman, you want to take that?
Zaka, just one line before that. I am waiting for both these gentlemen to tell us what their parties did for Karnataka. I have listed 10 things.
Sure, yeah.
Shehzad, you should not speak out of turn.
Viewers are also waiting. Salman, answer the question that I asked you. The difference between Karnataka and Gujarat is in Gujarat, everybody knew BJP was winning. It's a question of how big the margin was. But here, finally, after a long time, your party stands a chance. But you could potentially blow it, at least the differential of 5 or 10 seats, because that, I mean, in Karnataka it swings quite wildly, as you very well know. That's why this issue the BJP is latching on to.
Zaka, first, I mean, we have won a few statewide races in the recent past. It's not like, we won Madhya Pradesh and the BJP used money and muscle power to take that government away. We did well in Gujarat, Goa. They took that away.
No, I'm talking about recent, last 2 or 3 years, Salman. Not 2016, 17.
But in this particular election, there is, I don't know about what, where you're getting your information from, Zaka, but our information is that we're going to rout them.
Okay.
It's not we routing them per se. It is the people of Karnataka who are going to basically throw them out. Why? Because they're sick and tired of them.
Okay,
now,
Nalan is back.
Remember how this whole thing started in some ways.
Okay.
That a person who was a BJP supporter.
If you are routing us, why you need support of SDPI?
He
why do you need support of SDPI?
He committed suicide.
Salman, why do you need support of SDPI?
Serious corruption allegations against the BJP.
There are no answers. It's just a script that they've been given.
Nalan, I'll give you the final word. Do you think that because it's a close election in Karnataka, where it's a kate ki takkar, as they say, even something which is seemingly small as this attack on Prime Minister Modi, the BJP is latching on to because they realize that margins can play a very, very important role. It's unlike Gujarat, where it was just a question of how big the BJP's victory was. No one ever thought that the BJP would lose the state of Gujarat, whereas in Karnataka, it's actually a neck-to-neck fight.
So in Karnataka, I think the election has been fought on local issues. I think, by the way, the question of FDI came up earlier in the debate. There are some FDI numbers here, and in 2021-22, Karnataka topped the FDI numbers of all states with a 187% growth. At the same time, but that was for 1 year. The numbers change every year. On the point that Shehzad made earlier, I think there are not that many examples of states where contractors' unions get up and start making allegations specifically, officially on the record. So I think the Congress because the Congress in this election, it has a vibrant local unit compared to other states. It also has internal differences, just like the BJP has, but it's fighting an election on local issues. The BJP is looking at making it about wider issues and also banking on the Modi factor. And as in the last few days of the campaign, you will see much more of this tutu mema. You will see every attempt to get a brownie point, and certainly when it comes to Mr. Modi, that's something the BJP believes that any attack on him yields it benefits at least with a certain section of voters.
All right, we'll leave it at that. We'll see how this story plays out. It's going to be a fascinating election, this, in the state of Karnataka, and we'll be covering it right here on CNN News 18. May the 13th is going to be the big day, counting day. Talking about elections, it's not just Karnataka or, of course, the road to 2024 here in India, but there's also the big election that's happening in the US next year, and it's most likely going to be, yet again, a Trump versus Biden rematch. Joe Biden has announced earlier this week that he is going to run in 2024, and Trump has already announced that he is running. Right now, he is the leading Republican candidate. What has changed between 2020 and now is that Donald Trump is an indicted former president, the first ever to have that ignominy. Will that make a difference to his voter base, or will that actually charge up his voter base? Will an indicted Trump be able to defeat Biden when an incumbent Trump could not in 2020? And how does America and its institutions protect the result of the next election without the losing side, whichever it may be, descending into violence like we saw on the 6th of January 2021? Michael Gerhardt is a distinguished professor of constitutional law at the University of North Carolina. He now joins me. Thank you very much, Professor Gerhardt, for joining us. On this whole Trump indictment, the first former president in the history of the United States in over 250 years to be indicted on criminal charges, what do you think the impact of this would be? Of course, it doesn't stop him from running again, but how do you see this playing out for Donald Trump? Would voters be skeptical of him because of these charges, or would his base actually be more enthused to come out and support him because they see this as part of some design, or he's being unfairly targeted, what have you?
Well, in the short term, I think this plays out pretty well for Donald Trump. He likes being a martyr. He likes sort of positioning himself as a victim and somebody who is always being targeted by the so-called left. And since the indictment that currently stands won't come to trial anytime soon, he's going to be able to run as a presidential candidate based in part on the fact that he's still a victim. In the long run, it could become a problem because he could be convicted. And at some point, if he's convicted under this current indictment or under some other indictment, that could pose a problem for Trump. He'll have opportunities to appeal, but if he loses those appeals, he will be in a position of being subject to going to prison. And his being a former president won't stop any of that.
So the response to this has also been on political lines. The response to this indictment, when you have, potential GOP presidential candidates, Mike Pence, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, they've all criticized the indictment, saying that it is partisan. It was playing to a script. It was pre-designed. The Democrats, of course, have come out and welcomed it and said that this is yet another example of why Trump is unfit to run for office again. Is there a legal case? Because once again, because of the polarized times that America seems to be living in, is this legal indictment also being seen purely from a political or polarized prism?
Yes, and again, because as you have noted, we have a former president here who is the subject of that indictment, and a person who enjoys being in the spotlight and the center of attention. So if anything happens to that person, in this case an indictment, it just feeds into his narrative of, as I said, of being a victim, but also allows him to go public and bash the government. The thing about an indictment is that it takes time for a criminal proceeding to unfold. Oftentimes 1.5 to 2 years for that indictment to unfold, become a trial, if there's a conviction and an appeal. So during all that time, the Republicans can politicize it. But indictments are tried not in the court of public opinion, they're tried in the court of law. So whatever happens in public isn't going to influence or shape what happens in that indictment and subsequent criminal prosecution.
Let's talk about the People's Court, because now we have heard earlier this week that Joe Biden is going to run for 2024. Many are predicting that it's going to be once again Trump versus Biden. It's going to be a rematch from 2020. Do you think that's the most likely scenario that's going to play out? And one of the things that Biden said in his campaign video is that this is a fight for America's soul, for America's democracy. And he says the job is not done yet. Is that a message that will resonate with the American people? Because he said it in 2020, he won. The American people reposed their faith in him. But would they be willing to buy that message again? Because as he says in that video, it's unfinished business according to him.
Well, it's a really excellent question, and I guess that question will hang over the entire campaign, because as you pointed out, that's what's at stake. For the Democrats, what's at stake is protecting democracy and protecting the rule of law. For Donald Trump and Republicans, it's apparently upsetting the system, allowing for preferred treatment for people who happen to be Republicans and demonizing Democrats. That's what this election will be all about. But in the long run, I think President Biden is right, because this is a fight over America's soul, and each side has a different conception of what that soul happens to be.
Looks like, yeah.
Biden's fighting, as you pointed out, for democracy. Trump is fighting largely, I think, for Trump. If there's a higher principle there, I've yet to figure it out.
One of the other big legal issues, which is now again going to have a huge impact on the political landscape in the run-up to 2024, is the ramifications of abortion rights. The Supreme Court in the U.S. overturning Roe v. Wade. Now we have individual states trying to find a way to circumvent it. Do you see this becoming a big issue in 2024? And do you see, women as a voting class sort of rallying around this issue, making it the #1 talking point in 2024, making it almost like a vote-determining issue for half the electorate?
I think there's no doubt whatsoever that abortion rights will be a major issue, maybe even the major issue for a lot of voters. Women undoubtedly will come out to the polls, perhaps in greater numbers than they have before. We've seen that in the last series of elections. In the midterm elections, we saw that as a phenomenon. We saw that as a phenomenon in Wisconsin, where a liberal judge won, in part because she vowed to protect abortion rights. There's no question that abortion rights matter a great deal to women, and they will come out to protect their interests and their bodies. And that means the other side will be people who want to regulate women and regulate abortions. And so that's a contest. That's a major clash. And I don't think women are going to sit at home, whatever side there are on this issue, letting other people decide it for them. I think they're going to try and be heard and let their voice be loud and their message very clear.
Now, one of the issues also, if it's going to be Trump versus Biden again in 2024, is the question of age. Mr. Biden is 82 today. If he wins, and by the time he finishes his second term, he's going to be 86. Trump is also close to 80. And I think it was one of the candidates, I'm not sure if it was Nikki Haley, I think, who said that there should be an age criteria for people to run, because arguably this is the most stressful job on the planet. The person, whoever he or she may be, who eventually gets elected, has to be young, fit, healthy, and of good physical and mental stamina to be able to do this tough job. Is that something that Americans care about?
I'm sure it is something ordinary Americans will care about. I think age here is a factor. Although I do recall the debate between Ronald Reagan and Walter Mondale many, many years ago, and Mondale had been making that point that Reagan was going to be too old, and Reagan sort of turned the tables on Mondale in a debate by saying, "I'm not going to use my opponent's youth against him." So I think what President Reagan said back then is what we might likely hear now, which is what Biden and Trump, I suppose, could argue is they have a lot of experience. Each has been president. That means they can hit the ground running on day one. Somebody younger may or may not have the kind of experience, or more importantly, the judgment that I think is essential for an American president to have. So age will be a factor, judgment will be a factor, experience will be a factor. And oftentimes elections come down not to some general principle about somebody being too old or too young or inexperienced. It's going to come down to which of the two candidates is preferable to the voter. You only have to beat the other person to become president of the United States. And so there'll be a great deal of focus ultimately in the election, not so much on age and experience, but in the abstract, but in terms of how those factors weigh in, given the candidates we have.
There was a Gallup poll recently which suggested that I think it was close to 2/3 of all Americans identify themselves with either of the two mainstream parties, either identify themselves as Republican or Democrat. And there are very few Americans who identify themselves as independent. And over the years, that space has been decreasing. What is the incentive? You believe that there is far less incentive today to the two mainstream parties to cater to that independent vote when a large majority already identify themselves with either of these two parties. So the focus is just on turning out the base.
That's a good question. It's a tough question. The election is likely to be close, in which case both candidates will probably focus on trying to get independent vote. But I think, though, the statistics you just shared with us reflect, in my opinion, the tremendous divide, the greater differences that exist between being a Republican and being a Democrat. In the past, one might argue, I never really agreed with this argument, but in the past, one might argue that the parties had more in common than disagreement. Right now, it seems as if the parties are so different and the candidates are so different that independents, I think, become less important, in part because even independents recognize, given those differences, those sharp differences, they've got to participate in a way that matters, in a way that could have impact. And that means they'll have to probably pick being a Democrat or a Republican for purposes of the election. I think there's a world of difference between whoever the Democratic nominee will be, though it's likely to be Biden, and whoever the Republican nominee will be, because they have such sharp differences of opinion about all the issues that matter to the American people, beginning with abortion rights, but extending to all over the map, including the use of military force, as well as who really poses a danger to the United States. For Republicans, it's the Democrats. For Democrats, it's oftentimes foreign enemies and people who have attacked American forces.
I also want to talk to you a little bit about this other big legal case that happened in recent days, the one between Fox News, one of the major networks in the U.S., getting into a legal settlement, one of the biggest legal settlements in the history of the United States, between them and a voting machine company, Dominion, apparently on the back of false claims that the network made about the 2020 elections, doubting the credibility of those voting machines, doubting the credibility of the election results itself. Once again, highlighting this whole problem of election deniers and fake news. Do you believe the 2024 election will also be could potentially be victim to this sort of, election denying syndrome or this fake news narrative, as it were?
Yes, I do think that this election will feature yet again the sharp divide between Republican voters and their nominee, who is likely to either make up facts or ignore facts, versus the Democratic nominee, who may well sort of embellish things, but at least in my opinion, not likely to disregard reality. And so those sharp differences will manifest themselves throughout the campaign. The idea of fake news, which Donald Trump has pushed and many of his supporters push, is really a push against just facts they don't like. And so Democrats will use those facts because, at least from their perspective, those facts are helpful to them. And that will produce an odd kind of clash. In America, we've suddenly found ourselves sort of disagreeing about how to determine the truth and how much the truth matters.
And one of the fallouts, and final question, one of the fallouts of this case, the Dominion versus Fox case, is that one of their big stars, Tucker Carlson, was reportedly fired by the network a few days ago. He had put out a video yesterday in which he made a rather interesting claim. He said there is some kind of consensus in America between both the parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, and it's a system that only benefits the wealthy and the elite. And he says suddenly America looks very much like a one-party state. How do you view this? Is America a one-party state? And also, how do you view the ability of people like Tucker Carlson, who played a big role in fomenting this whole election-denying business?
Well, I, of course, have no inside information as to why Tucker Carlson got fired. But at the same time, there were revelations from his emails about derogatory characterizations as well as language directed at people that were his bosses. That's probably never a good thing do or to have revealed. But I think that what Tucker Carlson also did, as you just pointed out, is he put together a narrative that made the viewers happy and pleased. And in that narrative, facts are relatively unimportant or oftentimes absent. And I think what this election may sort of bring to bear is not so much that we have a one-party system. I don't think there's any real evidence of that at all. But instead, how much, again, do facts matter? How much does evidence matter? How much does truth matter? It used to be both sides could almost agree that, yes, facts matter and truth matters. Now that's not even true. And it's the disappearance of that common ground, I think, that makes this election so difficult and ultimately the stakes so important.
And of course, the critical issue of how to protect the election result, that everybody has faith in institutions that have declared those results, and the other side does not descend into violence just because they have ended up on the losing side of that election. We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Professor Michael Gerhardt, for joining us with your fascinating insights into how the American race for the White House in 2024 is shaping up. Thanks for your time. I'll catch you again.
At the world level, he has been adjudged as the most popular leader. So whom is he speaking against? And this is not for the first time that the Congress has done so. I think you just talked about many instances. Ravan, Neech, Maut ka Saudagar, Modi teri kabr khudegi. What kind of expression? Say, we are talking about the Prime Minister of the country. We need to have some respect for this highest constitutional post too. And more so, we are talking about a very popular leader of the country who is accepted by all. So I think more or less this expresses reflects the mindset of the Congress. They have stooped very low, and I think they know what's coming. They are desperate, they are frustrated, and you rightly pointed out that before the Gujarat Assembly elections, Prime Minister Modi had been termed Ravan by the same person, and we know what happened thereafter. So I'm sure this statement would boomerang, and we are going to win the Karnataka elections, and I think Congress will have to pay for this kind of
So let me ask Brijesh Kalapa. I mean, although Mr. Kharge has apologized, and clearly, you know, you can say what you want about him apologizing for it, but the damage seems to have already been done. The damage is that you are making a personal attack against someone whose integrity seems to be above board, whose image amongst the public seems to be above board. And personal attacks, when it comes against Mr. Modi, in the past at least we have seen it has not worked. So what explains why Mr. Kharge said what he said, and then of course the subsequent retraction and apology, if you will?
Zaka, one part of course is the fact that I don't agree with the words of Mr. Kharge. Where was the need to call anybody anything? I don't think this is the time to call anybody names. This is not the time to do that. Speak about your own agenda, speak about what you're going to do. I mean, because this kind of words, they actually take you nowhere. Of course, that is one part of it. But two is that there is a severe firefighting, which is apparent from the fact that the BJP has been trying to point fingers at the Congress party one way or another over the last 1 week. Because just a couple of days earlier, it was a different debate where the allegation was that Mr. Siddaramaiah had made a comment against the Lingayats. So ultimately, the BJP seems to be wanting to try to ride on some kind of a sympathy that the Congress has said X, Y, or Z. Honestly, these things don't matter. What really matters to the public is the fact that there is a serious allegation of 40% corruption. And these allegations were made by no less than the Contractors Association. The Contractors Association written not to anybody else, but to the Prime Minister, not now, nearly 3 years ago. Prime Minister did absolutely nothing about it, forgot about it. And while we were all waiting with bated breath that the Prime Minister would act, finally Prime Minister acted, but not against the corrupt ministers or so on and so forth, not against Mr. Ishwarappa, not against Mr. Limbavali, or on the basis of which 2 people had committed suicide, or not Mr. Madal Virupakshappa was caught red-handed with 8 crore, but the Contractors Association president was picked up middle of the night. 84-year-old man was brought before the magistrate. So I think all this
trying to point one finger at the Congress party and all that is not going to help. At least
Okay.
in Karnataka, the landscape of Karnataka
So-
is totally different. This is not going to have any impact at all whatsoever on the Karnataka
let me
people.
ask- let me
Karnataka
ask-
people are actually
yeah.
angry with Mr. Modi.
Okay,
And
let me
tell
ask
you why. He
Sanket.
didn't respond with-
One second, Brijesh. Let me ask Sanket Yanagi this. Of course, Brijesh says that this will have no impact on the elections and that personal attacks on Mr. Modi will not have an impact on the Karnataka elections. But the fact is, we have seen this in the past in Gujarat, where he was called Dasar Ka Ravan, and then before that in the Neech ki Kisam ki Aadmi comment by Manishankar Iyer before the 2017 Gujarat elections, Chaiwala before 2014. Mr. Modi will be hitting the campaign trail in Karnataka on Saturday, and we are expecting that he will use this comment by no less than the Congress president to turn it around and say that this is the Congress's elitist mindset, that they represent the ideas of one family, one set of individuals. They have contempt for the rest of the political class, including the Prime Minister.
Firstly, the Karnataka people, the voters of the Karnataka are wise enough to identify what the real issues are in this state. And this is no longer an issue in this state. And there is a saying in English, what you reap is what you sow. And if you look at the circumstances wherein Prime Minister Modi has said Shurpaniki to one of the Congress MP and a raincoat PM to the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister in the Parliament, and Congress ki vidwa to the former President of the Congress, and to Rahul Gandhi so many times, so many ways. Like that, everyone has been targeted by Mr. Modi. And when Mr. Modi can target others, similarly he will get targeted. And secondly, Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge has very clearly said that it was the BJP's ideology which he wanted to refer, and he has referred it to. And more so, he is not personally targeting Mr. Modi. When he made a clarification to that aspect of the matter, in my opinion, there is no further debate required on this issue, and it has to come to an end.
But
Why the BJP is
Mr. Yanagi, the point is, why did Mr. Kharge have to say these words? The fact that he said it, comparing Mr. Modi to a poisonous snake, and then sort of retracting from it, the damage has already been done. Now, you cannot stop Mr. Modi from raising this issue and saying that, look, this is what the Congress refers to the Prime Minister of the country in rather disparaging terms and tenor.
I would answer this question. We can't stop BJP, or we can't stop Modi, or we can't stop certain section of the media from raising this issue, because that is their benefit. And more so, for the second point which I would like to make is, the real issues are entirely different. Corruption is the real issue. Malnutrition is another issue. And underdevelopment in the state of Karnataka is another issue. The poor promises made by the BJP while coming to power, which have not been fulfilled, not even 10% is the issue. And contractors associations allegations are the issues. And the money which has been unearthed in the house of the BJP legislators or the BJP ministers is an issue. So there are so many issues which the BJP is unable to answer or unable to react to those issues, for which reason ultimately BJP has to rely upon some issue to divert the attention of the people, which will not be.
So let me ask Sanjay Jha, is this a diversionary tactic, or whether it is, something that will cost the Congress because personal attacks have not worked against Mr. Modi? Fact of the matter is that there was this feeling that, keep it to local issues, keep it to, corruption by the Bombay government, the reservation issue, which a lot of people seem to be agitated about. But somehow here comes the national president of the Congress and says something which is completely uncalled for, actually, in the campaign of Karnataka, to make a personal attack against Mr. Modi. Now, you can't blame the BJP if they're going to take this to town, saying that, look, this reflects the mindset of the Congress party, because after all, no less than the president of the Congress party has made this comment.
Zaka, I can tell you this is a manifestation of BJP's political desperation. I just spoke actually a couple of hours ago to some people from Karnataka, and they are unanimous in saying that the 40% cut government. I mean, it's such a joke that this is how BJP is being talked about in the political lexicon in Karnataka, and I think all over the country. They are headed for a rout, for a wipeout. And I can tell you the exhibition over, the comment made by Imran Pratap Garhi when he was met Atiq Ahmed some decades ago, or, blaming Mr. Siddaramaiah, as I think the gentleman spoke before me, tells you that the BJP is cornered and they are headed for a defeat. And I'll give you two examples that are very pertinent here, Zaka. To me, I'll tell you what is more serious, and the voters and the enlightened voters of Karnataka are fully aware. Amit Shah, India's Home Minister, responsible for the internal security of this country, makes a statement where he says that if the BJP were not to come into power in Karnataka, they will face communal riots. This is the man who's supposed to spread serenity and create tranquility and syncretism in our society. He has an FIR against him lodged by the Congress. I mean, isn't that a mammoth shame? You think the people of Karnataka are not aware? And that is the fundamental challenge to our future. The second point, Narendra Modi, and I'm going to quote to you, this is very important, and I want to quote this to you, Zaka. He accused Dr. Manmohan Singh. It was not another ad hominem attack. He said that Dr. Manmohan Singh was hand in glove with Pakistan, trying to install Ahmed Patil or somebody with Pakistan sympathy as the Chief Minister of Gujarat.
Professor Sarangi, first things first, is there a pattern here where you believe that the Congress at critical times in critical elections ends up making these sort of personal comments against Mr. Modi in a way that it costs the Congress party?
A very good evening.
Hello, namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma.